Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take the materials you send us and really boil them down to what you need to know.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into something you provided, excerpts from Yoga for Dummies.
Right. And the author, Larry Payne, PhD, he's quite the figure. Been prominent in yoga since the 80s, right?
Yeah, discovered it himself because of, back problems and sports injuries. And he actually co-founded the yoga curriculum at UCLA's School of Medicine.
Wow. Okay. So he knows his stuff.
Right.
Recognized by the LA Times, Dr. Oz, Yoga Journal. The list goes on.
Definitely. So the goal here for you listening is to get a really good, digestible overview of the core yoga concepts, the benefits, the practices, all based on what's in this book.
Sounds good. So let's start at the beginning. According to this source, what actually is yoga?
Well, what's interesting right off the bat is how it frames it. It's not just something you do. It's more about finding unity, finding yourself.
Unity within yourself or with the world.
Both, really. It's about that connection, a journey of self-discovery, whether you're a yogi or a yogini. So it's broader than just the physical postures we often see.
Right. Okay. More than just stretching. The book then mentions 8 main branches of yoga. That sounds like a lot. Can you give us a quick flavor of those?
Sure. It gives a brief overview. There's Bhakti Yoga, which is focused on devotion, channeling emotions positively.
Okay.
Then Hatha Yoga, that's a physical discipline one, and it's the main focus of this book, really.
Got it.
Jnana Yoga is about wisdom, seeking understanding. Karma Yoga is about selfless action, finding meaning in service. Mantra Yoga uses sound, potent sound, for transformation. Raja Yoga, they call it the royal yoga meditation, self-control.
Right.
Tantra Yoga explores continuity, interconnectedness. And Guru Yoga is about dedication to a teacher, a master. And it also notes Kundalini Yoga associated with Yogi Bhajan, which is kind of its own approach, but also uses Hatha techniques. It focuses on awakening specific energy through movement, breath, chanting. Shows how diverse yoga really is.
It definitely sounds like there are many paths. Now, the book also talks about how yoga is practiced more commonly here in the West. 5 basic ways.
Yeah, it breaks it down. You've got yoga for physical fitness and health maintenance, then as a sport, then as body-oriented therapy. Those first 3, the book kind of groups as postural yoga.
Okay, focused on the poses.
Mostly, yeah. Then the other 2 are using yoga as a comprehensive lifestyle and as a spiritual discipline.
Yeah.
And these align more with what it calls traditional yoga.
Right.
What's useful is that even though this book focuses on Hatha Yoga, the physical side, it doesn't just leave it there. It does bring in meditation and some of the spiritual ideas too, kind of bridging the gap, maybe.
That makes sense. It's not just about physical fitness, even in a For Dummies book. And it mentions yoga as a lifestyle. What does that look like, practically speaking?
Well, that's a key point, isn't it? The idea is that yoga's real benefits come when it's not just, an hour class twice a week. It becomes part of how you approach everything.
Like how you eat and sleep.
Exactly. Diet, sleep, work, relationships. Bringing more awareness and conscious breathing into all of it. Living more consciously, more skillfully with awareness and relaxation.
So a much more integrated approach. And the book touches on the Hindu tradition's view. How does that ancient perspective fit in?
From that viewpoint, yoga is seen as a discipline of balance. It really stresses how interconnected everything is, your mind, your body, your relationships, both with yourself and, the world around you.
And if one bit's out of whack.
Affects the others. So yoga, from this perspective, is about restoring that harmony, that balance for overall well-being.
Okay. Now, for someone thinking about starting, safety is obviously a big concern. What advice does the book give on starting safely?
This is really practical. It strongly suggests finding qualified teachers in classes rather than just trying to teach yourself from scratch. Proper guidance is key for safety and, just doing things correctly.
Where should you look?
Health clubs are an option, but it says check the teacher's credentials. Libraries might have info. Yoga centers, obviously.
Yeah.
It even suggests visiting a center first, just to feel the vibe.
Good idea. What about cost and gear?
It acknowledges costs vary, packages might be available. For clothes, just comfortable exercise gear appropriate for the class. And it briefly mentions the traditional idea of covering the lower trunk.
And the yoga tip.
Essentials are a mat or rug, towel, maybe a blanket, extra layer, water. It emphasizes hygiene. Probably best to get your own stuff eventually.
Makes sense. Anything else on starting?
Yes. Crucially, attitude, non-competitive. Really listening to your body. It uses the phrase, no gain with negative pain.
Ah, I like that.
Yeah. Proceed gently, avoid injury, trust the teacher's guidance. It's not a race.
That's reassuring. What about the time commitment? People are busy.
Well, it distinguishes between the mindfulness aspect, which is ideally 24/7, and the actual postural practice.
Okay.
For the physical stuff, you can adapt it. It suggests maybe starting with just 15, 30 minutes, perhaps twice a week, and building up gradually.
So start small and be consistent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Set realistic goals so you don't get overwhelmed. Even short, regular practice is beneficial.
Okay. So once you're ready to actually do some yoga, how does the book say to prepare for a session?
It stresses that how you do it is as important as what you do. Mind and body together.
Right.
Cultivate the right attitude, find your own pace, leave competition at the door. And there's this great concept, function over form.
Function over form
Meaning adapt the pose to your body, how it feels, what it can do today. Not forcing yourself into some perfect-looking shape. It calls it having forgiving limbs. It's about honoring your own body.
That sounds much less intimidating. Now, a big reason people try yoga is stress relief. How does the book explain yoga's approach to relaxation?
It's quite detailed. It talks about active relaxation, like through breathing exercises. And the postures themselves release tension. And then passive or receptive relaxation, specific techniques for letting go.
Okay.
It introduces the Sanskrit word shatilya, meaning loosening physical and mental tension. Consciously relaxing actually conserves energy.
How do you do that?
Gives a simple technique visualizing triangles to release tension in different body areas. Plus, techniques for relaxing before sleep, specific breathing ratios, body positions.
Anything for insomnia.
Yeah, an insomnia buster technique using active imagination. But it also stresses addressing underlying causes and having good sleep habits. Making peace with sleep, not forcing it, understanding your body's rhythms. And it briefly mentions yoga nidra, a state between wakefulness and sleep, as a tool for lucid dreaming and even reprogramming the brain with positive intentions, called samkalpa.
Wow, that's quite a toolkit. Another huge element is breath, pranayama. What does the book say about the power of breath?
It starts with some basics, average breathing rates, the downside of shallow breathing or hyperventilating.
Right.
Then it highlights how effective deep, conscious breaths are. For relaxation, pain control used in pain clinics, childbirth prep, stress management, even in corporate settings.
And how should we breathe?
It really recommends nasal breathing. It slows the breath down, filters and warms the air, and traditionally, it's thought to stimulate the ajna chakra, the third eye.
Interesting, the third eye.
Yeah. It explains the mechanics of yogic breathing, the complete breath, using chest and abdomen. Warns you might feel a bit lightheaded at first.
Okay.
And clarifies you breathe into the lungs, not imagining breathing into your feet or something.
Clarification.
Describes belly to chest breathing for energy. Mentions something called the yoga miracle, using breath with a partner for deeper stretches, PNF.
PNF.
Proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation. It's a stretching technique. And it introduces alternate nostril breathing, Nadi Shavana, explaining the technique, and also the cooling breath, Shitali.
So many breathing techniques. It's clearly fundamental. Let's move to the postures, the asanas. What's the philosophy behind them, according to the book?
Well, it's clear they're way more than just physical exercise. They're about connecting with yourself, your environment.
Okay.
Asana is actually the third limb of Patanjali's traditional eightfold path of yoga.
Right.
And according to the old text, their main purpose wasn't even fitness. It was to prepare the body for seated breathing and meditation, to make the body still and comfortable.
Like tranquilizers for the body? I think I read that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the phrase used. Helping to quiet the restless body so the mind can settle.
So even how you sit matters.
Definitely. It discusses proper sitting posture, like easy posture, Sukhasana, or thunderbolt, Vajrasana, using props like cushions to get the hips right. Mentioned Siddhasana, perfect posture, and Svastikasana too.
Okay.
And even a hand position, Jnana Mudra, the wisdom seal affecting energy flow. It really highlights that mind-body connection throughout.
It all ties together. The book breaks down postures into types. What about standing postures?
Standing poses are described as like a microcosm of the whole asana practice, minus inversions maybe. They build leg and ankle strengths, open hips and groin, improve balance, really foundational.
Good for feeling grounded.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're versatile, used for warm-ups, preparation, counter poses, rest, or the main focus.
Any examples given?
Yeah. Mountain pose, Tadasana, standing forward bend, Uttanasana, and its half version, Warrior Two and Warrior Virabhadrasana, reverse triangle. It outlines steps and benefits for some, like how Warrior Eye builds fearlessness, inner strength.
Warriors always sound intense. What about abdominal exercises? Not just sit-ups, I assume.
No, definitely not just sit-ups. It explains the 3 muscle groups targeted: rectus abdominis, the obliques on the sides, and the deep transversalis abdominis, different from stomach muscles for digestion.
Why the focus on the core?
Well, abdominal health is key for overall well-being, stability. And it introduces the yogic energy center at the navel, the Manipura Chakra.
Manipura Chakra.
Yeah, linked to the solar plexus, emotions, personal power, will. The exercises emphasize slow, conscious movement, breathing, even using sound quality over quantity. Yogi sit-ups and sit-backs are mentioned.
Conscious core work. Okay. Then there are inversions going upside down.
Right. It explains that simpler inversions, like legs up the wall, pose a variation of Urdhva Prasarita Padasana, can be calming for the nervous system.
Yeah.
Help circulation. Legs up on a chair is another gentle option.
But what about things like headstands?
The book specifically cautions against advanced inversions like headstands for beginners. It stresses safety and ease, so they aren't included in the beginner sections.
Sensible. Okay, what about bending and twisting? Good for the spine, presumably.
Absolutely. Forward bends, back bends, side bends, all crucial for spinal health and flexibility. The spine isn't just physical, right? There's that psychological aspect of having backbone.
True.
Yogically, it mentions the Sushumna Nadi, the central energy channel along the spine, and the idea of Kundalini Shakti rising.
Okay, getting deeper there.
Back bends are described as expansive opening. Need careful prep and compensation. Examples like locust eyes, Shalabhasana, and Cobra 2.
Some forward bends.
They're counterbalancing, often more calming, introspective. Head to knee, Janusirsasana, and spread leg forward bend, Upavishta Konasana, are examples.
Like I do quiz.
Great for the abdominal organs, kind of like a massage, and for spinal mobility. Easy sitting twist is one, and this intriguing Swiss Army knife posture, a Jathara Parivriti variation.
Swiss Army knife posture. Love it. The book also features the sun salutation. What's the deal with that?
It's presented as this dynamic, rejuvenating sequence. It touches on the history, links to sun worship in India.
Is it complicated?
It introduces a 7-step version, mentions a 12-step one, and offers a 9-step sequence as a user-friendly option too. The 7-step flow is briefly outlined: mountain, forward bend, cobra, downward dog, kneeling, sitting back.
So it flows.
Yeah, it's a great way to warm up, build heat, link breath, and movement, almost like a moving meditation.
Nice. Okay, so you've learned some poses. How do you put it all together? Does it guide you on creating your own routine?
Yes, it does. Key principles are: move slowly, use that yogic breathing, challenge yourself but don't strain, move smoothly between poses.
And the structure?
A balanced routine needs warm-up prep, the main postures, compensation poses, and rest. It gives examples for each. Warm-ups like gentle bends, head turns, compensation like dynamic bridge or knees to chest,
Compensation meaning?
counteracting the effects of the main poses,
Mm-hmm.
like doing a gentle back bend after forward bends or vice versa.
Got it. And rest is important.
Crucial. Shavasana, the corpse pose, or even just easy posture lets everything integrate.
Is there a formula?
It offers a classic formula: attunement, setting intention, warm-up, standing poses, maybe balance, abs, maybe inversions, back bends, forward bends, twists, rest, maybe meditation, final relaxation. And it suggests roughly how many poses from each group for, say, a 30 or 60-minute practice.
That's super helpful. The book also mentions yoga for different life stages.
Yeah, briefly covers pregnancy, kids, teens, midlife, and older adults. Really shows how adaptable it is.
Anything specific for older adults?
It highlights chair yoga as a safe way to improve flexibility, mobility, balance, gives examples like seated mountain pose, seated twist, seated forward bend. It really makes the point. Yoga can meet you wherever you are.
That's great to hear. What about props, like blocks and straps?
Explains how props, blankets, straps, chairs, walls, bolsters can really help. Provide leverage, improve alignment, stability, make poses more accessible.
Any downside?
Potential downsides are maybe relying on them too much, setup time, cost. It describes common ones: blankets for cushioning, bolsters for support in reclining poses or forward bends. Mentions inversion things like the body slant too.
Useful tools then.
Yeah.
Now, a big theme seems to be taking yoga beyond the mat. What does that involve?
This is about extending those principles: awareness, balance, non-harming into daily life. Work, leisure, how you eat, family interactions.
Give me an example.
Like incorporating mindful moments into your morning or evening routine, setting a daily resolution maybe, practicing relaxation before sleep, mindful eating, really paying attention.
Okay.
It introduces Sahajavasta, the natural state of peaceful awareness, and talks about the journey to the higher self through self-observation, understanding, discipline, transcendence.
Sounds like it connects to ethics, too.
Absolutely. It brings in the first two limbs of the Eightfold Path, the yamas, or moral disciplines: non-harming, ahimsa; truthfulness, satya; non-stealing, asteya; mindful energy use, brahmacharya; greedlessness, aparigraha;
And the second limb.
the yamas, or self-restraints: purity, shoka; contentment, samtoja; self-discipline, self-steady, savaya; and surrender to a higher power, ishvara pranidhana. It shows the real depth of yoga as a lifestyle philosophy.
Definitely more than just exercise. How does meditation fit into all this?
The physical yoga, the asana and pranayama, is seen as preparation for meditation. Calming the body, developing focus, makes it easier to sit still and concentrate.
How do you start meditating?
It gives a simple concentration exercise, visualizing a swan. Discusses different focal points: the breath, a mantra, an image, sound, feeling, or an energy center, a chakra.
Chakras again.
Yeah, briefly explains them as energy wheels along that central channel, the Sushumna Nadi. Mentions the root one, Muladhara.
Any practical tips for meditating?
Keep sessions short at first. Be consistent, prepare properly, integrate the experience afterwards. Suggests mantra recitation, japa, or mindful breathing as simple techniques. Even mentions walking meditation.
Building focus. Okay. The book also covers yoga therapy, using yoga for healing.
Exactly. Applying yoga tools for specific conditions, especially back pain, which it notes is incredibly common.
How do you find a good therapist?
It advises checking their training, looking for graduates of respected programs like the Yoga Therapy RX1 mentioned at Loyola Marymount.
Does it give therapeutic routines?
Mentions specific sequences for upper back and neck issues, like a wing and prayer sequence, a mirror on the hand-neck movement. Also seated twists and forward bends for therapy.
Any warnings?
Yes. Cautions against certain poses like headstand, full shoulder stand, and full neck circles if you have back or neck problems. Safety first, always.
Makes sense. So nearing the end, the book gives 10 good reasons to practice yoga. Can you list a few key ones?
Sure. Maintaining or improving health, definitely stress reduction, increased flexibility and strength, better mental focus, more emotional balance, enhanced awareness of your body, senses, intuition.
That's quite a list already.
Yeah. Plus, seeing it as a comprehensive, empowering lifestyle, and for some, a connection to their spiritual essence. It's a good summary of the potential payoff.
And there are resources listed, too.
Yep. Appendix with organizations like the International Association of Yoga Therapists, teacher training info, websites for teens or kids yoga, and more books to check out.
Okay, well, that really covers a lot from Yoga for Dummies. We've touched on what yoga is at its core, the different branches, how it shows up in the West, getting started safely.
The importance of breath, the philosophy behind postures, different types of poses, structuring a practice, adapting it for life stages, using props.
Right, and extending it into a lifestyle, the link to meditation, yoga therapy, and those compelling reasons to practice, plus resources if you want to go further.
It really paints a picture of yoga as multifaceted, physical, mental, even spiritual.
Absolutely. So this deep dive was designed to give you, our listener, that solid foundation and maybe highlight some areas that spark your interest for your own exploration. So the question to ponder is, considering everything we've discussed, the postures, the breathing, the relaxation, the lifestyle aspects, what part of yoga resonates most with you right now?
And maybe what's one small, manageable next step you could take to explore that further?
Could be reading more, trying a beginner class online, or locally, maybe just focusing on conscious breathing for a few minutes each day.
The resources in the book are a great starting point, too.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive today.